Hi, Liza.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Good to see you.
You
Hi,
too.
nice to meet you in person.
Hi, Lindsay.
How are you? Good.
I'm good. Yes, thank you.
Okay, there we go. Get everybody on the screen here on this. Sorry, Michael. So
This is
everybody, this is my husband, Michael. All right. You'll see him and be able to talk to him with underwriting and everything. He did the one underwriting module that we uploaded. We'll be having more of those. He is truly the master underwriter. He's an engineer by background. He's really the numbers guy for a lot of our boots on the ground, like JV projects, the projects that we have. He really truly is the one who is doing the main day-to-day operations, talking to the contractors day to day. So he is, well, we joke that I'm like more the front end. Like I like to talk to people. I'll do the calls. I'll do all the reels on social media, the networking events, talk to the sellers, brokers, all that kind of stuff. Once we buy it, I kind of hand it over to him, and he's really kind of the brains and the day-to-day operations behind it. So he is another very, very valuable resource that everyone here will have. So you want to say anything?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for the introduction. Welcome to everybody. My name is Michael. I'm originally from France, moved to the US 14 years ago.
I married him for his accent.
We're married, we've been married almost 10 years now. I was
Almost 11.
almost 11. I was a mechanical engineer for almost 15 years, and at the birth of our first child, I transitioned to real estate, which is my
Full-time job now.
occupation now. So I enjoy doing underwriting for projects. I think we might talk about that tonight. I deal with contractors pretty much on a daily basis. I like to take distressed properties and transform them into beautiful residence for tenants. And
we can see through the bad properties, and as we go through these next couple of weeks, you'll see before and after pictures and in the modules. I mean, we really have the common goal, and a lot of people will not put offers on these properties because they think, oh, they're so distressed. We can see through that, and we see the end product, and the pictures and the videos, and they're really properties that you can actually turn around. So he's a lot of the brains behind that, which is
so as a family, I mean, Lindsay is always kind of on the marketing side, dealing with sellers. She negotiates contracts with the sellers, and usually she gives me the keys, and I'm the one in the background redefining the properties and making the project happen. So I'll be happy to share my experience, whether it's again doing constructions, but also managing the tenants.
We'll talk about real estate professional status, and if there's anybody on the call that has a spouse partner that is interested in getting into real estate while somebody else still has a W-2, it's an even bigger tax loophole that you can go through, which we're not going to get into that on the call tonight, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So that's another huge change. Just like Lauren and her husband is a physician like me, even though I'm real estate too. So real estate professional tax status is another huge thing for tax benefits.
So before we get in, iPhone 89, is that Taylor or Jose?
It's me, Taylor. I just got off work. I'm logging onto my computer. I just got home. So give me 1 second to show my face. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's Jose said he was going to be a bit late, so he may not be joining. But before I want to just jump in, Liza and Irfan, you guys weren't here last week. So I want to give you guys just a quick opportunity to introduce yourself to the group before we get in. I know you both kind of missed the intro from the last week.
Can you repeat? You was breaking. I'm so sorry.
You froze up for a second.
I wasn't sure if it was our phone or Lauren's, but yeah, it broke up there for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you able to watch Liza and Irfan? Were you guys able to watch the recording from last week?
Yeah. I did completely watch the recording. Yeah.
I probably need a refresher. It explains my situation last week, so I think now that I'm in better shape, I'll revisit it. Yes.
No problem. No problem at all. Well, I want to give both to introduce yourselves to the group. We're going to be together 2 of 8. So we'll have some time together in the next 6 weeks. And so we really want to give you a chance to quickly introduce yourself, share whatever you'd like about yourself, about your family, where you're from, you know, why you are interested in investing in real estate. Just back in, you know,
Yep. Goals
whatever
and
you're
visions
comfortable
and
sharing.
goals and visions and where you want to go from here. Yeah, Lauren, you're really breaking up. I'm not sure what's going on your end.
Sorry, I'm right next to the Wi-Fi. Go ahead and share, and I'll figure this out.
Okay. Everett, you want to go first? Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
very good.
go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I have written down a little paragraph for myself because, you know, I don't want to, because it's almost like 3 a.m., 3:06 here where I'm at in Kuwait, you know, and I just write it down for myself, you know, and just want to make sure I don't skip anything because I haven't slept yet, you know. Just want to make sure I stay attentive while I was talking to you guys. Yeah, let me read it out to you guys. Born in Pakistan, built in USA, a seeker at heart. I am today a man who is 42 years old, father of 3 beautiful girls, who is can you hear me guys?
Yes.
Okay. A proud veteran of US Army who is currently serving in Kuwait on a DoD deployment. I believe that growth comes from stepping out of your comfort zone and challenging ourselves to see the world from the different prospect. In essence, I'm a lifelong learner, a visionary with a strong moral compass, and deep spiritual foundation. I'm excited to continue with the journey, embracing each new experience with curiosity and an open heart, which shapes me into an individual committed to making a positive and proactive impact. Thank you.
Well, that's wonderful. Irfan had a very, very nice vision board that he shared with Lauren and I. You know, just showing his dedication that he's over there at 3 a.m. and he's on these calls with us. I know he missed the initial one because he thought it was Central Time, but it was Eastern Time. But even despite that, he was on the call, and then he spoke to Lauren and I for quite a bit last week after everybody else got off the call. So your dedication to being in this group and showing up despite the time difference speaks volumes, and that's a huge thing for everybody in this group. The commitment that you're making to yourself to be here and, you know, to be open-minded. I think I've said to everybody that I've talked to on these calls, be open-minded during all these calls in the next couple weeks, and, you know, the individual calls that we're having. Sometimes what you think is going to be your goal as you're learning, it may change, it may pivot. You know, we just talked about Michael and I and our different roles in our real estate responsibilities. You know, we happen to be married, but we're very different people. If it was just me, I would be looking for a partner in a JV team or syndication, or, you know, something, just even a regular partnership that had those personality characteristics. Not one person can do everything. So, you know, keep an open mind and know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and you think about that as we go forward. And again, I thank you for your dedication to being here, you know, despite it being 3 a.m.
You know,
your time.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And I was reading this book, you know, and I was reading Michael's chapter. I got a lot of questions for Michael there too, you know, about all the strategies, what he mentioned, you know.
Yeah, Michael, I mean, he really is a brains with a lot of it. And he's really, I'll say it again, he's the numbers guy. So with the underwriting and as we're going forward, the ultimate goal, you know, is to get you guys to do deals, right? You will be talking to Michael at some point.
No, I'll be happy to help in any way I can. So feel free to ask me any question. I'm glad you read the chapter, but myself,
yeah, it was quite interesting. And already, you know, while I was writing, I was highlighting and writing down all the questions I need to ask you.
There you go.
There you go.
You guys can definitely set up a separate call, you know, outside of here together, or any, you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your introduction. Liza, you're up. Welcome.
I know. I wish I would have gone first because I do not have anything quite as eloquent prepared. But my name is Liza DeAngelis. I am in New York, born and raised. So I have 3 kids. I have 11-year-old twins, boy, girl, and a 4-year-old daughter. I've been working in marketing and primarily automotive marketing for a really, really long time, which is how I met Lauren a really long time ago. And we worked together and stayed in touch. And there's a reason I'm still in this, business. I like it. There's ebbs and flows, but open to opportunities. My kids are getting older. There's a lot of information out there. Super intrigued by what Lauren had been, talking about and posting. There's a little one. I apologize for popping in there every now and then on, 529s and just, family planning now, like beyond and what's next for us and just new opportunities, things to challenge, my brain, head in other directions. Maybe it's doing a couple different things, but I know that there are so many facets. I didn't know where to start. And I connected with Lauren a while ago. She turned me on to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Right. So that's a podcast that I've, enjoyed. Haven't read the book yet, but I do listen to his podcast and just, there's so much out there I don't know. And in terms of being an entrepreneur or being your own boss or, I've always worked for, a big corporation and been kind of locked and stifled. So, I want to learn and see what else is out there. And, that's why I'm here. So can't wait.
Welcome. Liza, do you have any real estate right now or portfolio, mostly stocks? What's kind of that look like for you right now?
Just personal. A home and an investment property that was my former apartment in New York City that turned into investment property. So and then finding things out that are interesting and looking to maybe buy another home, but this equity that I have in the investment property, just learning all these restrictions. I always thought I could get a HELOC loan on it, but New York State, it's not really possible. So, a lot of this has been coming up recently, and that was kind of a safety net. And, do I have to sell that property or, seems like I'm hitting roadblocks and tapping into how to access that equity because I've had.
You're saying the state of New York or the city won't allow you to take a HELOC on your condo?
I think it's the state because it's not my primary residence.
Oh,
that's interesting because that's
nobody will give me one.
Actually, it's the mortgage company itself. I know during COVID when things were, all the rates were low. Some of my friends that were then interested in getting the HELOCs, they actually put a stop to it, but it was mortgage company specific, not state law specific.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics. Everyone I spoke to, including your contact, Lauren, they always reference New York. New York won't do it, or maybe it's New York City, but it's New York City. It's an investment property, it's not my primary residence. So all these roadblocks. So now I'm kind of in a position with that, where do I sell it? And then again, there's a bit of equity there, and start reinvesting that. Maybe into other opportunities, but there's a lot and that was very eye-opening for me.
New York specifically definitely is not the best. I mean, for sure, it's not a landlord-friendly state by any means. We have a lot of, Lauren and I have a lot of contacts that we know that live in New York, that have lived in New York and moved out of the state, still have rental properties there. We can definitely get you into contact with them, that like Bill Hamill, and there's a bunch of people that Lauren and I know that we can put you into contact with to see how they may or may not be getting around that right now. It sounds very similar. Michael and I, actually, our very first investment property was a home that we lived in before we read Rich Dad and Poor Dad and knew about real estate investing. We call it our first accidental rental. We had it. We lived there when I was in residency. Then we moved to where we're living now. And we thought, well, we'll just keep it and rent it out. We knew nothing about real estate or investing at that point. So we actually just sold that property a couple months ago, and we're doing a 1031 exchange into a current 6-unit that we're under contract for. So that is, I mean, if you have a lot of locked up equity in that property and you're having issues, and again, New York, not the best landlord friendly state, maybe something to consider. Again, keep an open mind about selling that. There's a good quote: live where you want, but invest where the numbers make sense. And a lot of times New York laws and numbers don't make sense. So maybe something to consider, you know, as we go throughout this course and talk to you more and your goals and everything about selling that and investing somewhere that you can get more bang for your buck and, you know,
I love
grow
that.
your portfolio that way.
Definitely an accidental investment property, right? But yeah, and then, but yeah, I'm open to, you know, to anything. I don't, you know, I'm not, I'm out of the city now, so just want to leverage what I thought was, you know, a safety net, or, you know, an opportunity to parlay into other things, you know.
Liza, we'll go through those numbers separately. I'm happy to share it with you. I just sold my accidental rental and rolled it into a 40-unit apartment building. So it was like one condo in Los Angeles turns into 40-unit apartment in Kansas City, and the cash flow will 5x. So it really does make sense. I'll share it with you because I know there's a lot of emotions tied up in that property, but we'll talk about it because I had to get through those emotions, and I don't regret it in any way.
Okay, great.
In investing, you need to put emotions aside.
Yeah. But we can go in now. I think, Eliza, is there anything else you want to share?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Well, today, guys, we're going to go through, I think all of you at this point have watched Module 1. This was a very basic, more mindset focused. You know, obviously we didn't get much into technicals except for some of the depreciation component. But I hope all of you have watched Module 1 at this point. I'm going to go through some Cliff Notes versions of the module, but I really want this to be an open dialogue. So any questions you had as it came up, any questions that you have as I speak or as Lindsay and I speak, please, like, this should be an open forum. And the whole point, as we've talked about, you know, is that we all get to know each other, because then we can, you know, there's opportunities to potentially do things with each other. And so we really do want this to be we want these sessions to be a chance for not only for you guys to learn and have the actionable steps and then have access to Lindsay and I, but also to be able to meet each other. And, you know, I met Lindsay years ago and I just texted her today. I'm like, I'm selling something. I need a place to put my money. And, you know, and she's got something under contract. So, you know, this is how we kind of, a lot of real estate investors work. It's very, very relationship driven and collaborative. And that's why I love it. I mean, it's really, I think, the most relationship driven business there is. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Again, speak up however you, at any point, and we'll go through the details here. One moment.
While she pulls that up, does anybody have any questions right off the bat that they're, you know, burning to ask right now?
I actually have a quick question. Just going through the first module, I think it was, Lauren talked about the benefits of the K1. Is that specifically only with syndications, or is there other ways to get that tax benefit and like all the other benefits that come with the K1 partnerships?
That's any real estate that you put a K1, that you put into an LLC will kick off a K1 at the end of the year. So yeah, that's any real estate. Good question. So yeah, any real estate you put into an LLC will provide a K1 at the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
So the benefit sometimes of syndications is that they're big properties, so they get big depreciation losses. So and sometimes your JVs or your others will too, but you know, putting a single family into an LLC will give you a smaller depreciation expense than maybe a larger multifamily.
And we talked about legal, you know, aspects of it and everything later in the modules, but anything that you're investing in for an actual property, we didn't with our first accidental rental, but it really should be in an LLC. It should not be under your name. And as you grow your portfolio, this is one of the things we talk about getting a good tax accountant, CPA. It can get very complicated. Ask Michael. He's going through our taxes. We still haven't filed for this year. We're still waiting on a K1 from one of our properties yet as a syndication. So one thing to be cognizant of as you get into more real estate syndication JVs, you're not going to file your taxes on time. I don't think we've filed taxes on time. No. I don't even remember. So expect to have extensions on your taxes. Again, Michael is our numbers guy. He does a lot of our bookkeeping. We still have keeping software and everything like that, but you won't file on time. And yeah, as you get all these LLCs and everything, as your business is growing, it can get complicated. So being organized, I think Taylor, you had that on your vision board, right? Being organized. I love that. It's really, really a good thing to get organized from the beginning, get your LLCs and all your legal documents ready from the beginning with the mindset that you are going to grow. Because if you grow and you didn't start at the beginning, it's kind of like, toddlers learning how to step. You want to make sure you're walking before you're running. So.
And today I was actually chasing our K1s from all the investments that we have.
Lauren and I were talking about K1s too with one of our properties earlier.
And many of the properties that we bought last year, we are doing what we call the cost segregation study. So in the first year, you're able to depreciate a fairly large amount of the property in year one. So I'm chasing those K1s to get those losses, those paper losses, to offset the gains that we have on other properties. So we end up not having to pay too much tax at the end of the year. So today for me was like, again, chasing the losses somewhere, the paper losses.
We talk about that very briefly in this module. Again, other modules will go much, much deeper into the cost segregation studies. But yes, that is a huge thing on module. I mean, we briefly touch on it on module 1.2, but yeah.
I have also a question.
Oh, yes. Yes, Joe.
Oh, go ahead. Oh,
all right.
So
I just sorry. You mentioned about those cash out refinance. The concept of it, I'm still not very clear. So hopefully you can clarify this concept and how it's done and what does it take to do this cash out refinance.
We're going to go through that today, actually. Then I've got a case study on it, and we're going to have a lot more that's coming into module 3 and 4.
Yep, in other modules we go way deeper into that. That's our bread and butter. That's really where you can make a lot of the money, and that Michael and I do every year.
I mean, if I can just say one thing to answer that is, you get taxed on every type of income, but you don't get taxed on refinance on loans. So the point, very briefly, is to create value where you can get a bigger loan, which basically on that loan, you cash out some of the money that you use for the next investment or for yourself, but you're not being taxed on that money. So the whole concept is to create value. We go back to the bank, say, hey, my property doesn't worth $1 million anymore, it's worth 1.5. Can you give me a bigger loan and get me that money back into my pocket without having to pay any tax? And that's the whole concept, which again, you can place into the next project or just spend it. But if you're
recommend not doing that. Michael jokes that he's never had a paycheck since we've been married, because every time we do our refis, which is him doing the actual operational work, we take that money from the refis and we just buy another property. And that's again how you're just growing the portfolio. That's our game. Not everybody's that way. I mean, Lauren, and I think it's module 1.1, as we get into this, you talk about getting your W-2, buying an asset that gives you passive income to then buy stuff. That's the left side, right? And then you have the little thing with the guy running on the wheel. It talks about W-2 income to buy stuff. That's how most people live, right? That's not what we want to do.
So Zan, yes, it's all of that you'll get lots of examples of that, including this evening. So,
I just have a question on the refinance, because that was an option that was brought to me for the HELOC instead of that refinance. But I'm at 2 point something %. And, so the option was 7.5% or, whatever it was at the time. So how do you manage that? Or is it you just hope that, you're kind of the even playing field on the interest rates?
Yeah, you could refinance that at the higher rate as long as it continues to cash flow, if you're hell bent on keeping it. But a 2% interest rate is free money. So ideally, obviously, you want to keep you would want to HELOC it. But I understand New York City is a different beast. But if you are hell bent on I'm keeping this thing no matter what, I would say, and Lindsay, you can have a different opinion, of course, I would say refinance to a point where it still cash flows, and then pull out the equity, because that equity sitting in that is doing nothing for you.
Right.
If you're refinancing to a negative cash flow on that property, I would be very hesitant on doing that and just selling the property. If you're refinancing still cash flowing, and then you still have equity in that property, and then you have money to roll into the next deal, that's a different story. That's going to be a very case by case scenario. And like Lauren said, that's a conversation to have on the side about your direct number, so we can help guide you in that.
Got it.
Right, and it depends on the so back in 2020 to 2022, the rates were fairly low. So what we did with our properties, we refinanced them at a fairly low rate. So we got a lot of cash back in our pocket at a fairly low rates, which have a term, like it's typically a 5-year term. It could be different, but let's say a 5-year term. So we know that 5 years after that refinance, we will have a new rate, whatever it is at that time. But at that time when we refinanced, was made a lot of sense. Then in 2022, 2023, the rates, because of the inflation, rates went up big time. Right now, if you try to refinance, you're gonna be probably in the 7 to 9%. So it may not make sense on a cash flow perspective. So one alternative could be, and that's what we have done, we use some of our properties, houses, that we went back to the bank and we say, hey, can we get a business line of credit out of it? So the bank did an appraisal on 3 or 4 lake houses and said, okay, based on the value and the current mortgage you have, we can, on top of the current mortgage, we can give you a $300,000 line of credit. And if we use it, so if we will just do a simple refi, we would have a new mortgage at that 7, 8, 9%.
You get the money and that's it, and you're paying from that day forward.
So you will have to pay that mortgage on a monthly basis. But instead, what we did, we got a line of credit, which we use based on a strategy. If we see a property where we know we're gonna need some cash to rehab the property, but we know that once we rehab the property in 1 year, we can refinance that. So we use that line of credit when
it's a new bank account almost.
It's kind of a new bank account. Obviously, we don't want to max it and pay 8-9% where we will pay a lot of interest on it. But on a short-term basis, that's a tool that you can use. You only use it when you need to transform the property at value.
For instance, right now we're under contract for this 6 unit in Kingston, which is where we live. We are using our 1031 from that first accidental rental way back in the day. And then in order to finance the rest, the bank's financing 75% of the rehab, but we still have to, bring up 25% because this is actually a traditional finance with the rehab loan. We are using some of our line of credit to finish that. So we're doing this property just on our own, just Michael and I, and we're doing that through our 1031 exchange and part of the line of credit for that. So yeah, that is an option.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, Liza, asking, for a business line of credit. I hadn't thought about that. If you can do that using the condo as collateral, that's a great solution.
Yep.
I hadn't heard of that either. So, yep, maybe more
different than a home equity line of credit.
Yeah. We love real estate. There's so many different ways to make up the cocktail, to make deals work, and ways to manipulate it. It's not a one size fits all solution. It's fun. It's a game. How to make the numbers work. All right, Junko, I'm sorry. We got off on a tangent there.
My question is, so like K1 tax benefit, so like in the long run, is that better for us to make LLC? Because my understanding is if we don't have LLC, this K1 doesn't apply, like the tax benefit doesn't apply. Or if let's say like if I have investment as an LP, it doesn't mean that I get those benefits. Like in the long run, if I'm going to this direction, it's better for us to make LLC and then to get like a max benefit from.
You will still get a benefit whether you own your share for a syndication, as you just said. Whether you own it in an LLC or you own it individually, you will still get the tax benefits. Because you're still going to get a K1, but rather than say your name, it's going to say your LLC. So that won't impact your tax benefits.
When
I see, I
Michael
see.
and I invest even as limited partners, because again, we do everything in real estate. So we still invest as an LP under an LLC. Ideally, you want to get everything out of your name for liability reasons. So yeah, everybody here will, be talking about LLCs in another module, but that is something that you will be creating during the next couple of weeks in this course.
Okay, thank you.
Just one thing about K1s. Obviously, when you receive a K1 when you're, let's say, an LP or a partner into real estate business, so you're receiving passive income. The big benefit is to use those. We use it as especially in the first years, the passive loss that you get to offset some passive gain. So whether you have dividends with your stock investments, if you have dividends on that, you can use the passive losses on the real estate side to offset the passive gains on the stock side, and basically balance the things out so you don't have to pay any tax on your whole portfolio.
So this is a crazy thing. One of the doctors that I work with, he's an ER doctor. He does a lot of syndications that I've done. He's one of my best limited partner investors. He flips cars on the side. So he will like pre-order Teslas, all these kind of crazy cars. He'll get them brand new and he flips them within a week. And he's getting like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 at a pop. This is all income, and this is short-term capital gains tax, right? So he actually is using his K1s from all of these properties that he's getting to offset that income. I mean, that's a kind of crazy example, and I don't know anybody else that's doing that, but any like actual active income the income that you're getting, you can take these K1s and offset it. It doesn't have to be just real estate. It can be stocks or anything else.
But it can't be your active income.
Yep.
Except
unless you're real estate producer.
Except if we're like us, and that's where it becomes even.
That's a second loophole.
That's a pretty advanced tax strategy, but this is what we're doing. Lindsay she's a doctor, so she has a fairly high income, active income, and I'm real estate professional. So in our case, the losses that we can get from our investment, me being considered as a real estate professional, if I use all those paper losses against our own investment, and if there is anything else, I can use that against W2 income. So and that's probably not going to be in your first years, but down the road, this is a tool that we are using that is very powerful to lower our taxes overall, being a team, one high W2 income. So I always like to say she works on the income side and I work on the wealth side. So the combination of both in that case help you save so much tax. And again, when I say save tax, is money that you don't have to give back to the government this year, but you can reinvest into the next in the next
Something
investment.
About K1s too, and this is a question I get a lot. You may not get a lot of passive income your first year if you're only doing one investment property. I don't say by yourself or as a limited partner or something like that. If you don't have enough losses, that can roll forward to the next year too. Okay, which is a good thing. And you, Michael, you just mentioned about me having the W2 salary. I mean, we talk about this in module, 1.1, the cash flow quadrant, right? So the left side, you're an employee, you have a job. That's still me, and I don't have to, right? Like we were making a lot of passive income and everything. I could do even more with the real estate. I like being a doctor. I worked 11 years to get my medical degree. Like I'm, regional director. I actually do truly like what I'm doing. I'm not going to quit that. It's empowering that the real estate has given me the ability to work when I want to, which is great. I mean, truly, we talk about this, but I still am on the left side. The goal is to get to that right side, the business owner and the investor.
And let's jump in because we're gonna cover that in part of the cliff notes here.
Yeah, we didn't even get past the first slide. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Let's jump in. It's again, cliff notes. All of you watched module 1, so I'm not going to go through much again, but I do want, there's pieces of it that we really want to highlight and open up for conversation if you guys want to speak through it. And then at the end of the day, at the end of this session, we're going to go through a case study on, Zan, what you just asked about, understanding that cash out refinance. It's a case study on that that we'll get into. And there's gonna be a ton more added to the modules in module 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is a Jim Rohn quote that I just adore. And your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. And it's so true. So the big thing I wanted to remind everyone in module 1 and 1.1 was that we are very programmed from childhood by our school systems to get jobs, go to work for 40 years, give our money to Wall Street, and then when we're old, we can retire and draw down on all of our investments. And we are very trained for that. That was very strategic, and it's been since the Industrial Revolution that this was the case. And so, and it was a very important part of society to teach mass numbers of people back in the 1800s at the start of the Industrial Revolution. It was very, very important that we had a mass number of people who were literate and punctual and could take orders. And that factory style education system that was created in the 1800s still exists today, still is teaching our children, by the way. So it's really important that we understand that this, so that we can help our children understand what they're working in, because this isn't going anywhere, but we can break them out of the trance, I like to say. And then success is 80% mindset, 20% of your actions. So that's why I really wanted to start module 1 with the mindset work and making sure that we're really talking about it, and then we can get into all the tactical, actionable steps.
You will hear that quote, success is 80% mindset, 20% action, over and over. There are so many mindset books, motivational books that talk about this, and it's really true. Somebody could get a ticket from, going fast or something on the highway, and it could ruin your day, or you could think, okay, this is just one bump on the road, and you move on from that. So really, how you react to situations is key.
And this is, Lindsay just spoke to this, so I'm not going to get into it. You guys saw it in the module, but the cash flow quadrants, this is a really important thing to understand. If you're on the left side and you're employee or you're self-employed, everything you're doing as part of this course and moving forward in real estate is to push you over to the right side of the quadrant, so that you are an investor and you're, that passive income is building up.
Yeah, I will just say one thing, Lauren. I don't want to talk too much, but the cash flow quadrant is probably my favorite book
by
from
Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki. Yep. I'm a math guy, yep. And when I left my engineer career, we had our first kid, trying to find what was the next life for me. That book really resonated. Just the math standpoint, how to create wealth. Like if you have a W-2 income, which I had as an engineer, you get taxed, to 30 to 40% depending on what state and what is your actual income. But if you understand the math that is given to you in that book as being on the right side of the quadrant, being either an investor or business owner, you understand that your tax level is going to decrease, and that's where you can actually move forward with your wealth, creating wealth. It's playing on the right side of the board game, if I can say. And that's what we're doing today. We're optimizing, so we're getting close to sometime not paying tax. Like last year, we actually had a very nice tax refund checks because we invested. So not only we just invested and build wealth on one side, but we accumulated the tax benefit to keep growing in that way. So this book, to me, if you're a math person, is fundamental. And it opened my eyes. I didn't have any financial education coming back from France, and I think in the US it's the same thing. You don't learn that from school, but this book is...
Well, same thing going back to Lauren's slide. We're not taught that way. That's not how we're programmed in school, the US school system.
You're programmed to work for a company, get your W-2, give 30, 40, 50% to the government. And basically you earn money with your job, you pay taxes, and you get to spend what is left. But when you play on the right side of the quadrant, you earn money, you try to expense as much as you can, and then you get taxed on what is left. So if you play the games right, you may end up creating value without having to pay too much taxes, and you can do it much faster than regular, I guess, W2 employees.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all of this throughout this course, but to reiterate, I live in California and I paid single-digit taxes last year because of all of this. Because of this, but we are so
in California. Congrats,
I know.
Lauren.
Similarly, I was expecting a very large check that I would need to write.
Remember, that's with her husband's an ER doctor too. I mean, yeah, that's huge, Lauren. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got a $10,000 refund where I was expecting a very, very large check that needed to be written. So it's important, and we're going to really get into this, and we're going to we're here and we're so passionate about this because we want every single person on this call to be doing the same thing. I mean, this is why I sit on social media and talk about it all day long. I want everyone to be doing this. So again, you can retire when your passive income exceeds your living expenses, regardless of what you have, the level of the account in your 401k, and regardless of your age. When your passive income exceeds your living expenses, you can retire. Yep. And then the big
that is financial freedom. That is the definition of financial freedom. Passive income greater than living expenses equals financial freedom.
So as we said, the big component of just moving forward and breaking through and buying these rentals is you gotta get your mindset right. We're going to get education, which you're going to get through here with us, and then community, which we're all on this call together, and all of you, Lindsay and I know so many people in this space. So wherever you are and whatever it is you're trying to achieve, we can connect you with the right people if we are not them, to make sure that you're getting the answers so that you can move forward. And Liza, by the end of this, I'm going to get you to sell your condo. I'm kidding. I'm so, yeah, we can get into that's another conversation.
I think the emotional attachment is long gone on that too. So let's
okay. It took a while for me to get rid of it, but that's great. Well, then we'll talk. And types of income, I think everyone at this point knows this. You've watched the modules. You've got active, portfolio, and passive income. Active income is when you trade your time. Portfolio is your stocks, bonds, paper assets. Passive income is your real estate, royalties, business investments. That's the lowest tax form of income. So that again, that's just a repeat of what many of you already know. Inflation and taxes are the biggest wealth killers out there. Again, you guys have watched the modules, you know this. In 1979, you could buy the average house in America was 60 grand. In 2023, the average house in America is 429,000. And in the past 4 years alone, the prices have increased by 37%. And I just want to reiterate, guys, we've just had a double, in some cases, tripling of the cost of capital, and home prices have not come down very meaningfully. Yep. I mean, you're talking in California, they've gone up. I think in places like Austin, maybe you've seen a dip of maybe 10%. But they still have not imploded the way that they did in 2008. And as we see interest rates come down, which they're primed, they already have, and they're primed to do through the next year, we're going to continue. Prices are going to go up. So you're on this call and you're on this program at a very meaningful and important time, because I truly believe for us, we've got another good 10, 15 years where it's not going to just get astronomical. And especially for our children, my God, when they hit adult age, it's going to be even more difficult for them. So that's why we're here. And then, going on to module 1.3, the income and appreciation strategy. A lot of people struggle with this, especially if you live in a big city or in a city where there's a lot of appreciation. People say, oh, well, if I buy this house in California as a rental, yes, it doesn't cash flow, but it will double in value in 10 years. I'm like, sure, but you're not going to get able to tap any of that unless you sell it or unless you take out a HELOC or something. So me, and I know Lindsay and Michael, we're very much into an income approach. We are looking for passive income. We are looking for how can we invest and have and earn income from it. Appreciation is a phenomenal bonus and one of the many as part of the multidimensional benefits of real estate, but it's not the number one. And so at least not for us. There's, depending on where you are, if I was sitting on $1 billion and looking for wealth preservation or capital preservation, my strategy would be different. But given where I'm at, and I think
we're most of us, Warren Buffett.
Yeah, I think for where most of us are, passive income is more interesting than capital preservation. So we're going to be continuously talking about income strategies on this.
And there's natural versus forced appreciation too. And Lauren, I think you mentioned this in the module. Natural appreciation is 3 to 4% every year, and that's just globally. we've had more than that normal natural appreciation in most of the country the last couple of years, but again, that's not normal. So you can kind of project out what, you know, a conservative 3 to 4% is going to be without you doing anything to the property. That property will just appreciate as inflation normally goes up too. And again, we're at a time where inflation is higher than normal. But then you have the forced appreciation, which is what we look for in deals, where you're turning the units from, you know, old shag carpets to nice new laminate flooring, nice new countertops. You're raising the rents. You're forcing that appreciation, right? And we get into that a lot more in the modules, but there's natural appreciation versus force. But then there's also the you know, actually trying to get properties for that passive income. And again, we go back to the quote, live where you want, but invest where it makes sense. Lauren, you live in California. Most people, and my best friend lives in California and LA too, maybe. She can't get rental properties there that are going to cash flow. So they're just banking on it appreciation, even though you have no cash flow. To me, I would never do that in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, where we live in the Northeast, appreciation, sure, it's been, again, a nice couple of years, but we're doing it mainly for the passive income, the cash flow that's happening. So that's going to depend where you're living and your investment type of strategy.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So how did you find out that in your area or the investment area that where is the more properties more have on the appreciation side versus on the cash flow side? What's your tool to find out this characters?
Well, a quick tool, and we will get into that, and there's going to be additional modules added to 3 and 4. But a quick one you can look at, Zen, is what's the 1% rule. And I always just like to look at that. Like let's say a property is $500,000. You want to be able to rent that for $5,000 a month, 1%, $5,000 a month, in order for it to make sense as a rental. And unless, of course, you're forcing, you're adding an ADU or another unit. But let's say just as a rental, if that's a quick way to look at it. Okay, the houses in my area, the duplexes in my area, if it's 500,000 and I can't get 2,500 aside, you know, per door, then it's not gonna work. So again, that's very quick and simple. There's lots of ways, and we'll get into more. But I would say if you're trying to decide if your particular area is good, that's something to just quickly determine.
And that's bare minimum. And you'll hear books and podcasts talk about that, the napkin underwriting. So I mean, like our first accidental, we bought it for $211,000. We were renting it out for $200,000. So we were right at that 1% rule. That's actually, to Michael and I, not very good. Like, we buy properties that are getting much, much higher than the 1% rule. But that's bare minimum napkin underwriting that you should be looking for.
Let me ask you a question, because Lauren, when it comes to the 1% rule, because I have seen one of your that's what you talked about on Instagram like a couple of months back, you know. And after watching one of your video on Instagram, I did my maths. I live in Texas, and and I do own properties, and believe me or not, it never worked on not a single property. I'm just talking about Texas, because I have a family in Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston, and I run the numbers on each property. None of the property comes up on 1%, because the property I own it, the current price is 315, around 300, and I rent it out for 21. The max is 22. In Texas, that was not making any sense for me. I was thinking might be in certain areas only.
Yeah, well, also Texas has higher property taxes, so you're dealing with different types of expenses. But yeah, I mean, it like Lindsay said, it's very much napkin math. But yes, in those large municipalities where there's a lot of demand, you're gonna have to go to the outskirts for those numbers to start to work. But I will show you, as the case study, we're gonna show the one Lindsay's Michael have right now. It meets the 1% rule. And so it's in Pennsylvania. So you just gotta choose your market right. But
yeah, that should be great. I would, if that's a 1% work every time, we're gonna make a good money on it then.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely. And you'll see there's lots of strategies to deploy to make sure that you're meeting that. Okay. And then the power of real estate, as we spoke about, the power of refinance, which we're going to talk about in the case study, power of leverage. One of the things I always say is you can leverage real estate. If you want to buy $100,000 a stock, you have to come up with $100,000. If you want to buy a $100,000 property, you need to come up with 20,000 or 25,000. So, you can leverage into real estate, and you can't do that in, any other investment really. I mean, depends, right? But so the value of leverage in real estate is a big thing. And then the velocity of capital, which we are going to show in our case study today, which is why I chose to do it. Velocity of capital is huge. I'm just going to show you how Lindsay and Michael bought something in March 2024 this year, and by next summer, they will have their entire investment back, plus the property will still cash flow. They call it infinite returns. So it's one of the many wonders of real estate. And Zan, it will help answer your question as well. The cash out refinance.
There's the leveraging of money, but there's also leveraging your occupancy and everything too. So, I mean, if you have $100,000 and you want to buy one property for $100,000, which you definitely can in Pennsylvania here, still you can get a unit for $100,000. Then that's your one property. If you're vacant, you're 100% vacant. You have no income, right? Versus if you leverage it on a normal 25% down property, you can get 4 different properties. You have 4 kids, you can buy 4 properties. This is a 529 account essentially for them. So then if you have one property that goes vacant, okay, you're only 25% vacant. You also have 4 times the depreciation that you can do, 4 times, the cost segregation studies, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just leveraging that money, it's leveraging a lot of things. Real estate is just great. I love it.
So, and then the other thing is too, for the action items, you guys have noticed that there's action items at the end of every module. So for 1.4, for module 1's action items, really want you guys to think about your passive income goals. What do you want to achieve in terms of, what's the goal, what's your stretch goal, what's your very doable goal? Sorry, it's doing it itself. So yeah, what are your passive income goals for the near future? And that will help you determine how much money you need to deploy in order to reach those goals. The other thing is, make sure your accountant knows something about real estate. I can't believe, my mother is a CPA. She was my best friend. She knew nothing about real estate, and she was a CPA. So you really need to find an accountant that doesn't just prepare your taxes, but also strategizes and understands real estate. So as you start getting into this,
are created equal. Lauren has a great one now too. So if any of you don't have a CPA yet, you will need to get one, especially as your portfolio grows. If you have one thing, ask for recommendations. If you have somebody local that they're great, with real estate, go with that. If you don't have anybody and you want recommendations, yes, Lauren and I have recommendations for you too. And there's no kickback or anything. We just want to make sure you have a good CPA.
Yeah.
Lauren, quick question. I know when you reference, 529 versus property, you're buying a property for your child is replacement there. Is that an exception to the passive income for appreciation? Or you still look for
it's nothing with the government when you say I'm buying this property as a 529. It's very different. With the 529, that money is restricted. If you were to say, okay, now I'm going to say that I'm buying this property and that's my 4-year-old's 529. That's just for you and your husband too. Exactly. Because the thing is, who knows? I don't know. I always say this. I don't know. And how relevant is college going to be in 15 years? But I'd rather not have any money encumbered in 529. I know you can roll it to a Roth, but then they can touch it when they're elderly. And so I like the idea of real estate because it's not encumbered. And if they don't go to college or you decide to take
for that particular, if you're going to pull that money out for like a college, let's say it is for college education, something that's going to appreciate at a faster rate, or are you just taking the passive income and reinvesting it and using it that way?
You can do both. You can take the passive income and do whatever you want. And then when you refinance in 15, 20 years, when it's time for your kids to go to college, you can use that for whatever you want to. If your kid doesn't want to go to college, okay, great. Maybe that's the down payment for their business that they want to get into or something. Anybody on this call, Lauren and I, next Tuesday, right, Lauren, at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're doing an entire webinar just on 529 versus real estate. So that's a whole hour just on that. So you can join that webinar. We're going to be doing it live.
And if you can't join it, we'll give a recording as well. But
we'll give.
But it's a great tool, and there's a lot more flexibility. I'm sorry.
8
What?
p.m. Eastern time. So it'll be, I guess, 3 a.m. your time again.
Oh, 8.
I'll send you the recording, Irfan. Don't. Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank
in
you.
full
Thank you.
transparency, Michael and I, we do still have 529 accounts for our kids. We dollar cost average every month, a couple $100s for each kid, just as, you know, another option. But obviously real estate is number one. And the biggest thing that I think we're going to give to our kids in the future for generational wealth.
Yeah,
But again, I'm not anti-stock. I'm not anti-529. We still have our stock accounts. They still have my 401, 403, 457. I don't want to like paint that picture. Like, we do diversify. It's just real estate is what's making us money at this time the most. Yeah.
Do you guys also own any REITs?
I do not own any REIT. No.
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
How do you see REITs?
I don't love them. My husband got into them quite a while ago, and you know, there's a lot of conversation around, you know, REITs and the scale that they have and how beneficial it is. We really rely. It's a stock though, right? So you sell it, you're going to pay capital gains, whereas and there's no like 1031 exchange.
Yeah, you're not exactly. You're not getting K1s. You can't do a cost tag on that. It's not really.
All the tax
There's no
benefits.
tax benefits yet.
No, yeah, exactly. So I don't love them. This was something bought a long time ago, but we do have some. But we're much more focused in on buying our own.
Perfect.
REITs are a stock. That's how you have to think of them.
Yeah. So book recommendations, you guys all saw this. Money and the Law of Attraction. I really, that's more of a woo-woo book. If you're someone who suffers from like scarcity mindset, which is something that I dealt with, that's a good one. But otherwise you can skip it and just Cash Flow Quadrants and Power of Positive Thinking. And then we're going to do a case study now. So this is, Zan, this is going to answer, you know, part of your question, but there's a lot more we'll go into throughout this course. But we're going to do a case study on an 8 unit. This is very simplified there, but I really wanted to show you guys, this is how it gets really exciting. And Liza, let's pretend you did sell that condo. I'm going to pick on you. Well, you sold that condo and you rolled it into this 8 unit. I want to show you what that equity could do for you in an 8 unit like this. So Lindsay and Michael, I'm going to take, you're obviously welcome to chime in, but I created the slide, so I'll speak to it and chime in, of course. But
I know you talked to Michael on the phone earlier while we were doing our conversation.
So Lindsay and her partner, she's got 3 partners in this deal aside from Michael. They bought a 10-unit apartment building.
It's a small joint venture, which is a very small partnership. Yeah.
Yep. So there's 4 partners total then, and they bought it in March 2024 with the plan to use the BRRRR strategy. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. This is a very common strategy in real estate. Everything they've done has been that hasn't been everything I've done, but it's phenomenal. And it's an important strategy for you guys to understand. So they bought this 8-unit apartment building. They bought it for $600.
It's those 2 buildings. They're 4 units each.
Yes. So they bought the 8-unit apartment building for $640,000. Get ready to laugh if you live in a big city. $80,000 per door. And then again, this is in Pennsylvania. It closed in March 2024. The average rents at the time when they bought it were $695. And these are 2-bedroom, 1 baths. Okay.
And people were living in them too. So these were livable. It's not like they were like completely trashed. The owner was just an old school guy. He had not fixed up this property in who knows how long. So the rents were low and the apartments were not great looking.
Yeah, and this is where that's our favorite situation.
Yep.
You have in that specific case, the seller owned the property for 40 years. He never did anything to the property, never like upgraded the apartment. So when we come in and we see, oh, the rents are very low, it's a great, it's a great location.
Great neighborhood.
Great neighborhood, but the apartments are way under market. Like if we had kicked all the tenants and just re-rented the units, we probably would get $1,000 per apartment.
Without doing anything.
So there is a value that we see. And then we are like, okay, what is the maximum rent we can get in that area? And how much will it take to put the units, the apartments to that standard to achieve that maximum rent in that area?
This is a very nice area. All the places around were, they have like pools, single family. This is the only multifamily in there. It was kind of the eyesore of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you keep going, but we have a pattern of like buying from sellers that are, you know, in their 70s.
And we get this through direct mail campaigns, which is a whole other topic on a module that we'll get into. But we actually bought this from a direct mail campaign that we hand wrote and sent out from Prop Finder, which will also be a module that's coming up. So I know tangential. Sorry to cut you off, Lauren, but yes.
This is going to be high level on the numbers. So they bought it for $80,000 a door. So when you're talking about real estate, oftentimes you're going to hear real estate professionals saying, okay, what was the cost per door? What's the value per door? So for $80,000 per door was the acquisition cost. They were renovating it. They're renovating the interior and the exterior. So the average is for the renovations, interior, exterior, was going to be $45,000 per unit. So $45,000 per unit at an $80,000 acquisition cost means the all-in cost of this acquisition was going to be $125,000 once they're done renovating. So I'm skipping through here. So the new rents after renovating were $1,550. So remember, when they bought it, the rents were $695. After renovation, the new rents are $1,550.
These are true apartments that we have done. People have moved in, and we actually, because of how nice the units are, we have the ones that are actively in rehab right now, pre-leased at $1,550 a month.
So that's accurate numbers. So to go back to what we were talking about, Zan, with the 1% rule, if we're doing that quick napkin math, this meets the 1% rule. So we're talking about $125,000 a door, or the all-in cost between acquisition and renovation. And the rents are $1,550 a month. So that 1% of 125,000 is 1,250. So the 1,550 exceeds that. So this is beyond, as Lindsay said, we like to buy better than the 1% rule.
Yep.
This one is better than the 1% rule. So are there any questions so far? I'm skipping through things, but I have a module to point you to if you want more detail. But are there any questions so far?
No.
I'm good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this 125,000 per door is the cost of renovation.
That's with renovation costs, correct?
$80,000 to buy it,
Yep.
$45,000 for the reno.
Yep.
Okay.
Total cost.
Total
So-
cost.
Yeah. So just wanna, because actually the numbers is like perfect. We bought it for $640,000, and we bought it with a construction loan with a local community bank. So the bank gave us 75% of the purchase price, and they also gave us 75% of the construction, which actually was, our budget was $360,000. So the two mixed in, it's a $1 million project. Okay. But when we run the appraisal, so for us to get the 75%, for us to get the loan from the bank, we had to add the property appraised to $1 million. That was what we needed to reach. When the appraiser came in, looked at the apartment, saw our plan with our drawings and specification for the contractor, he understood what we were going to do. So he estimated that the rents will be actually in the $1,500, and he evaluated that the property will worth after renovation $1.4 million. So we passed the $1 million minimum that we needed to meet at the appraisal
And we're meeting it. The numbers are meeting it spot on.
To get full funding, which means that next year, when we are done with the renovation, the property should also appraise around that $1.4 million. Which means we are going to be able to go back to the bank and say, hey, give us a larger loan now. We're gonna do a refinance and pull most of our initial.
Well, Lauren has this right here on the slide. Summer 2025 refi, new value 1.4. I mean, you just said it. You didn't even see this slide here. New loan $1 million. We'll get everything out, all our equity out. We still own the building. We're still cash flowing, and then it's like we have no money in the deal anymore. We have gotten all our money back, the JV partners money back, and we can go do it again. This is how we are growing on these smaller deals. And you can too. Like, this is achievable. This is this is definitely something that anybody can do.
Yeah, we're gonna help you guys into these sorts of deals
Yeah.
if that's what you want. But I'm just gonna back up a little bit. So March 2024 is a recap. They purchased it for $640. The down payment, meaning the money that Lindsay and her partners came to the table with, was $318,000. And that includes some of the renovation costs and some of the down payment and then reserves. And then so the loan amount that they got when they bought it was $729,000. That's the loan from the bank. So that's what they're looking at now. So fast forwarding to summer 2025, when they do their refinance, the new value of the property, as you just said, is 1.4 million. You get a loan out, 75% loan to value, so $1,052,000. And they're going to take those loan proceeds and they're going to pay off the original loan here, $729,000. And they're also going to pay back Lindsay and her partners the $318,000 they invested. So this is what's called infinite returns. They're going to keep this property forever, for a very long time. It will continue to cash flow for them, give them passive income, and they have what's no money in the deal anymore because they get paid all of their invested capital back in the summer 2025 through the refinance process through here. So this is just a really, really, if you talk about scaling your portfolio and wanting to buy a new property every year, it doesn't mean you need to save a new down payment every year. It just means that you need to get into the right deals where you can have velocity of capital, meaning you invest it, then you rehab it and get into the next deal. So the partners that Lindsay has in these deals, they have W-2s and other jobs too. They know Lindsay and Michael are rock star operators. So they invest with them, they turn the money, and everyone's going to get their money back next summer and be really happy. So we're going to get more into this, how this works. But Zan, does this give you a bit of a framework?
Yes, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Now, for the new loan, this $1 million, 52,000, is that based on the new interest or the pre-existing interest between your bank? Because interest may change, so it may go high or go low. So I just because I feel like
That's a great question. That will be based on the new interest rate at the time. And even the big syndication projects that we do, you essentially use the Burr method on those syndication projects too. And like Chris Jackson, he's a great operator. Lauren and I have a lot of deals with him. It might not, if interest rates, God forbid, go up to 20%, we might not do our refi next summer, right? Because the numbers aren't going to make sense at that point, but we're still cash flowing a shit ton, sorry, my language, because of the increased rents, right? Nobody expects that. In fact, with the Fed, we expect some rate cuts coming down, which is great for us. But yes, to answer your question, it will be based on the new interest rate.
Yeah. So I made a whole video that I think is included in your whole package here. But at the time of the underwriting, there is a guesswork as far as when we're gonna be able to refinance and what will be the interest rate at that time. So when we bought the property in March, what I looked at was the dot plot from the Fed. So the Fed gives you an estimate where we're gonna be within the next 4 to 5 years in terms of interest rate.
And this is from the government, right?
So at that time, earlier in the year, we knew we were kind of getting close to top inflation level, or we knew we were not inflation level because we were already down, but we knew that we already had reached top inflation and we were probably at top interest rate. So in the underwriting, I estimated that accounting for the renovation time, which should be about 1 full year, I estimated that 18 months to 2 years after purchase, I will be in a situation where the rates will probably be around 6%. We got that property at 7.15. And I accounting that my refi loan mortgage, to answer your question, will be around 6%. And if it takes another 6 months or a year to get there, well, we'll just wait and we'll have more cash flow in that meantime. But obviously, underwriting is an art, and there's some guessing, but it's your best guess based on the information you can get. And for that specific rate, and that's what you see from many operators, they try to estimate where we're gonna be at the time of refi. And again, I think we're actually heading straight down to
Yeah.
what I was
Yep.
predicting at the time, is that the Fed is probably gonna cut rate in September, and we're probably gonna be in the 6% rate as far as commercial loans within the next year. So mid next year, we should be where I was expecting, for at least in my underwriting model. But that's where the rates come from. It's not from when you purchase, but it's when you expect to refi.
So this is a totally new loan down here. Totally new. It's based on what prevailing values are.
I will say we have a 10 unit, and this is getting more complicated, but our 10 unit, we did the exact same thing. Local, Michael's the operator, and it's just him and I that own it. We have no partners. We actually, when we went to refi, the bank suggested to us, hey, instead of refining the whole property, you have such a low interest rate on your primary mortgage, it's in the 4%. She said, why don't we can do a second mortgage, so you can keep your first primary loan at 4%, and then the refi is on a second mortgage at the higher rate. And it was great, and we refied 275% of our money out. So, and that's just having a great bank relation too. I mean, we hadn't thought of that at the time, that's another option. Again, this cocktail mix that you can do with different properties. So that is an option too.
We'll get into a lot more of that. And if you guys want to skip ahead and do a deep dive into this underwriting, no need to do it. If you want to, Michael did about an hour-long deep dive into how to underwrite this property, and it's in module 4.2.1. So
All right, I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
Yep.
For the new loan, I just for the new loan, so that it basically the rent going to continue cover the cash flow continue cover this new loan until it paid off.
Yep. We would not refinance if you're going to be cash flow negative. You should not refinance at that point. Yeah.
Okay. So that will just become like a
so it's
30 year.
First of all, it's a great question. The exact answer to your question is the bank. They want to see what they call the DSCR of 1.25%. So they want to see that your net income cover your entire mortgage plus 25%. That's the base, and they will lend you based on that. Okay, so your new mortgage, the max you can pull out, will be based on that, your net income plus the 25%. And that new debt service that you're gonna have with the new loan has to be below that net income plus 25%.
When you do your underwriting on Synthesis or another tool that's at least equivalent to that, when you plug in your numbers, it will automatically on the Excel file give you your DSCR, your debt service coverage ratio. And if you're below that 1.25%, you're not even going to go to the bank. They're going to reject that loan. This is really high level just for module 1. Again, we have a lot of other modules to cover, but that's a great question, Zan.
I'm on mute. If you want to skip ahead, and you're welcome to watch Michael's module. Otherwise, just wait. When we get to module 4, there's going to be a lot more goodies even than there are today. So we're really taking it week by week. Are there any other questions on this? All right. We want to be respectful.
Can I add just one thing? And from my personal experience, someone talked about REITs. And the REITs, yes, they are like stocks. You don't control them. What we do with real estate, we control the asset and we do whatever we want with it. So here we force the appreciation of the property. So by doing the rehab on the property, we are creating value, which the bank is going to recognize through the income we're getting, the income and expenses. So we are able to create value, which then we are able to refi to get a bigger loan on it, which we're not getting taxed on it. So Lindsay, she loves to say that you're printing money.
It is. You're literally printing value.
Going back to the bank and say, hey, sir, can you give me some of my value back? And that money that they give you back is not taxed. Not taxed until you sell, but if your plan is to hold the property until you die, you don't pay any tax at that moment of time, which you can reinvest to the next property and do it again and again. And that's how you grow wealth much faster.
One of our first refinances on the 10 unit, and I'm talking about this 10 unit again, when we've refied that property, I have a picture of me holding the check from the bank for $301,000. tax-free that we made for ourselves in 20 months by this 10 unit property. I mean, that's more than I make after taxes in a whole year as a doctor working in the moonlight. I sat in his truck and I just cried. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We've literally printed money in 20 months on a 10 unit building, which we still own to this day, and it's still cash flows. So yeah, real estate can be very powerful.
Are there any other questions?
This is maybe for next session, but I'm really interested how the conversation sounds like between you and walk in the bank and talk to one officer, how that going down the tree. But maybe for next.
Let's do that when we're in module 3 or 4, but that's a great question too, actually.
Yeah, my first conversation with a loan officer, he told me I had no experience and basically to get lost. So that conversation still sticks with me to this day. So yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's important to me too. And again, knowing what I've been up against just in the conversations the last few, like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
and understanding the ways around and the negotiation piece. And then just wonder, in one of these modules, if you get into, the remodeling piece too. And, there to me feels like, so much risk in that. So like where, how do you keep that in line and on schedule and
we'll definitely get into that on future modules, and it can be risky, and every project, even our best ones, things come up that you can't predict, right? And that comes with where you have to have some cash reserve, and the grit and the determination to get through it as well. Because yeah, even our best properties, asbestos has popped up, roaches, underwear fell on Michael's head and he's taking off ceiling tiles. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. So there's always the unknown in the projects, which you don't have to do yourself. If that sounds too crazy and you don't want to, you don't have to. You can be with partners that are doing that, and operators. You can be limited partners on syndication deals. You don't have to do that, but you can if you want to. And again, real estate can be split in so many different ways.
Yeah, I would say, just to your point, one is know your numbers. So I love underwriting deals. I think if in relaxations, we can actually probably give you access to people or videos that people do underwriting sessions just to learn from. Yep. But if you go to the bank and you have an underwriting model that is solid and you know what you're talking about, yep, you're gonna get in the room and you're gonna be confident in yourself, and the banker is gonna know that.
Confidence.
So
that's what you need.
That's one thing. The second thing is in commercial real estate, and when I say commercial, I'm not talking about storefronts. I'm talking about anything about
5+ units,
5+ apartment buildings. It's not based on comparative, but it's based on income and expenses, your net operating income. So they don't really look too much into you, like how much you make, but how much that property. And me, I don't really see building as properties. I see them as businesses. What's the income minus what's the expense? What's the net? And I go back to the bank and I say, hey, I can increase that business value. I can get higher income by rehabbing it. I don't think about it as, again, a real estate. I think about it as a business. And I explain what is the business plan, how much I'm going to net at the end of the day once we did the constructions. And that's what the value is going to be based on, that net operating income. And if I'm able to prove that after the renovation I can get there, they're going to give you the money for it. Yep. It's not going to be based on how much you make. You can be unemployed. I mean, you might need to have partners to, have the balance sheet to help you out.
Well, that's called a KPA.
It's not so much about your income. It's about the business that you're about to acquire. Mm-hmm. And that if you get that and you're able to calculate the numbers properly, you can buy anything.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard the infamous story of the man who bought the Empire State Building with no money, but it's you got to switch your mindset a little bit, because it's amazing. I mean,
always look, and I'm respectful of people's times too, and I know it's late, but do you consider land, or is it really usually just kind of existing builds that maybe you renovate or is,
So we have partners that develop land, buy land, parcel it off. They'll do, the deeds for the land and then just sell it to a contractor. Lauren and I have not specifically done that. For cost segregation studies, you cannot depreciate land value. That's actually taken off the top. It's just the building and stuff too. So yes, land is, I have a guy that I did residency with that he buys land and he timbers it. He takes the trees down, then he sells the land afterwards. You can do it. I have not, Lauren has not, could get you in touch with people that have, but that's not our realm of specific knowledge.
It doesn't match my goals. I'm pretty focused on passive income and maximizing my depreciation losses so that we don't pay taxes. So land just doesn't meet my goals, but not to say that people do well on it.
And what about B&B? Have you guys also been in B&B?
Airbnb?
Yes.
Short-term rentals. I don't have any short-term rentals.
We do. We have a hotel right now, and so Christina Kovac, she's one of our JV partners on this 8 unit. She has Airbnbs in Florida. She makes a killing. She loves them. We have a hotel that we're selling right now. Airbnbs, they can be great, they can be bad. So our experience with them is not good for a couple of reasons. One, the main operator that's on them, and it can be very time consuming if you don't have those specific processes in place, but you can make a lot of money too. Again, not my specific wheelhouse.
Right. So we deal with Airbnbs indirectly. Actually, the 10plex that she was mentioning, I have someone that rents 3 out of the 10 units from us. So we have a regular rent with him, and he Airbnb them, and he makes his money on.
Yeah. So his difference is he is a tenant. Like he pays our $1,200 per unit, but then he's making more than that by Airbnb-ing them per night and stuff. And he's doing great. And that's why he has 3 of their rental units too. But
he's doing great, and that's a different strategy, a different game. It's more kind of like the hotel. It's you have to deal with people every day. You have cleaners coming every 3 days. It's a different game.
Yep.
You have to be 24/7, 24 hours service.
And people are very successful with it. There's whole mentorships just on short-term rentals. That's not this course.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a different business model. I do understand. It's all depend on the market, to what market you guys in. And do you guys also prefer, let's suppose I'm in Texas, I have a paid off house and renting it. If it's not making 1%, do you think it's better to sell it out and go somewhere where I'm going to make 1 or more than 1% is a better option?
You said you have it paid off and you're not making 1%? Or what?
Yeah,
sorry.
I have a paid off property in Texas.
Well, so
go ahead, Lindsay.
What do you think?
I mean, I would say sell it. Yeah, I mean, that's you're paid off, you don't have a mortgage, you're not making 1%. Yeah, I would say sell that.
Yeah,
either sell it or HELOC and pull out some equity and get money, that equity to work. I mean,
but then he's still, it's probably still almost negative then at that point.
It will I would say, I'm not would be that radical. I would say depends on your situation. If you have an opportunity to buy a bigger property through this one by selling that one and just do a 1031 exchange where you're gonna avoid any capital gains and put it into the bigger one where you're gonna have more cash flow.
If you're not making 1% on a paid off property, sell it and something else.
Michael, you're gonna be. You will be my guru in this case. I will ask you. I will definitely, because my properties, what I paid off properties in Texas, they don't make 1%. Yeah,
I would get that would be a no-brainer for me to sell that.
Yeah, 1031 into something bigger. 1031.
Sorry?
I said 1031 exchange, as Michael just said, into something bigger. So you're not paying any capital gains taxes, no depreciation. 1031. 1031 exchange. We'll get into that.
Well, that's a whole. There's a lot more coming. Again, this is just module 1. I feel like we're just touching pieces of this. There's so much more information coming for you guys.
Yeah, and Liza, if you were to sell your New York City apartment, you'd be doing a 1031 exchange as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what Michael and I are doing right now into this 6 unit we're buying, which we're turning into 5 unit. So. All right, guys, I know we're way over time, guys.
And I'll talk to you separate on that because I'm like trying to do the math and the 1% and what
Sure. Yeah. That's me. We can talk. Okay. Well, are there any other questions before we get off?
And I need to ask one more question because I know you guys, I was reading your book, you know, you have compiled all different authors. What makes you, what was the mindset behind compiling all the book, you know? And I know you guys are into one more book, writing one more book. It's kind of a compilations, or is just your experiences the one you're writing right now?
The one that we're writing right now is specifically for attracting capital. So getting money, you know, other investors, how to ethically do it, the psychology behind that. So that one, just Lauren Marco, one of our mentors, and I are writing together, which should be out next month. Where we're working on it actively right now. The idea behind those two, the male and female version, all the people in these books we know personally. We have partnered with them. We've done deals with them. We know them in some real personal and professional capacity, and we know what they've done. The idea behind that was to show on a broad spectrum, like the female version, there are people that just started getting into real estate, and then there's Dottie Herman, who is the richest woman in real estate in the world, right? And she put a chapter in that book. That's Dottie Herman. Like that's a real person, right? So we wanted to show the spectrum of how people started. Lauren and I had a template. We asked everybody kind of the same questions, and we let them either kind of do a draft of the chapter themselves, or we just interviewed them, and then Lauren and I wrote the chapter for them in, you know, kind of in their words. And we really wanted to show the different ways you can do real estate, their tips, their tricks, how they got into it, and just different people's perspectives, because everybody gets into this for different reasons, their whys, and everybody has different levels of success and how they got there. That was really the idea behind those books.
Oh, okay. Perfect. And that's the main, and what was the mindset behind using this online classes, you know? What was the mindset?
We love to talk about it. I mean, as you see in my tangential speaking here in the last hour and a half, I get so passionate about it. I can talk about any topic for hours. Like people like Lauren, and I think in the module you had the coin jar. It said the swear jar and the real estate jar. Like I'm in that real estate jar. I will talk about real estate to anybody who listens because I'm so passionate about it. Lauren and I do not have to do this. Like we're good on money. We're financially free. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because we did this course, because we feel like we have done and been successful, and we have knowledge to give back to other people, because real estate is not something you're taught in school. And it's such a valuable tool to create wealth for yourself and your families that we want to share this. We want to talk about it. So yeah. That's why we're here.
I think I mentioned, I don't think I know, I mentioned in the introduction, like my mom's passing with a pile of money in retirement accounts was my big shift. And I see the majority of people in my life on the same path. So for me, that's why I'm doing this, because I similarly will talk about this to anyone who will listen to me. I started talking to myself on my phone, as you guys know who follow me, because I just wanted to share this information. So and so that really is my, you know, it's like it truly is a very, very deep why for me, because I my husband and I transform the way we think.
And Michael's dragged into this because he's my husband and partner, so he has to get to talk to you guys, you know?
I would say last week I listened to a lot of your stories, and one common theme was seeing your parents working all their life, and either like at retirement, having health issues and unfortunately dying, or and seeing them like they have done so much and they can enjoy it, once they're supposed to enjoy it.
You know, not your mom. I mean,
yeah, I see it with my family. My dad right now, who had a restaurant, sold it, and he has actually some money in restaurants. But right now he's 75 and he can't really enjoy his life because he has money stuck into some bad investment.
And Michael's mom, unfortunately is diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer a year and a half ago. And she just retired in June of this year. They finally sold the restaurant. She started chemo at the same time.
So
same thing.
So the point is, there's a lifestyle with real estate, and there's a goal to give to our kids, but also enjoy your life while we're doing it. And as a team, while we have different, Lindsay has great talents in a certain way, and I'm trying to do on other ways, like a more like the guy in the background making the property run properly. We have a common goal. We have very different way of seeing it, but we have one common goal, is to build that wealth for family. And we have so much fun going to real estate meetups.
Yeah.
That's one of the things where we enjoy going meeting with new people.
We're all going to Florida next week. Lauren's going to be flying in. Michael and I are flying in to meet with some of our business partners in Florida. So
the journey worth more than the actual result to me. Like, it's fun meeting with people, exchanging, and we're with a group of, mastermind. We have a lot of very high level people where, okay, sometimes we discuss with your parents. My parents, they are like, why you guys keep buying real estate?
They think we're crazy. They're like, why? You have enough. Why do you keep buying? Like,
so now we're with people that understand, have the
yep.
same mindset, and that's what I really enjoy. And next week we're going to Florida, and we're gonna be with 20 people enjoying, 4 days of fun, talking about real estate and sharing drinks, and that's what I like with that whole adventure, I guess.
Yep.
Nice. Lauren, Lindsay, I know you also teach some in medical school, right? You have the same passion for teaching for medical too?
The short answer, this is going to sound so bad. I get very, very, very passionate about real estate. I love medicine in a different capacity, but I certainly don't go home and talk about medicine with this same passion. So when I'm in that physician mindset and teaching, it's for the patients. They're always in the background, but the passion is not as much as real estate. I'll say that.
Nice.
And I said, well, I know this, we don't need to talk about this right now, but I think I want to hear the direct mail campaign, that the strategy that you guys did.
I'm
like later on.
Yep, I'm going to record. Lauren and I were talking about that earlier today. That's one of the check boxes. I'm going to record a direct mail session specifically, and that will be uploaded too. So that'll be another supplement here. Yeah.
I understand some people like to jump ahead, and some of you have already watched the whole thing, but we are adding regularly to these modules. So we'll be, as we go through, the homework for this week is to watch module 2 if you haven't already, and come with any questions, and we'll review module 2 next week. But we're going to be adding to module 3 and 4 and 5 over the coming week as well. So if you jump ahead, I will let you know where you need to go back and catch up.
And guys, we have the text group going too. Feel free to keep that lively. You can ask messages in the text group and throughout the week too. Okay.
It's a WhatsApp text group, or
no,
it's just
it was regular text. Yeah, regular text.
Regular texting. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was reading somewhere it says WhatsApp text group or something. I was not sure about it.
Yeah, Irfan, it's actually on Facebook. I don't have your Facebook. I'll email you separately about that. It was a WhatsApp message.
Oh, okay. It's on the Facebook
Messenger.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll address that.
Yeah, but on the text group,
see...
we definitely ask questions as they come up.
And how do I see this video? Do we get the email to see the recorded video?
Okay. After I record that, we'll let you know that it's live. Lauren will upload it. She's the IT person too, Michael and her. So I record, I send it to her, and then she gets it up on Kajabi.
and then let me ask you about the module. The module you was talking about, we need to go and watch for second module. That's where the mind shift, right? That's where go on the website. That's where you want us to go and watch all the modules one by one.
Yep. Yes. For each week. So this week was module 1. Next Thursday, we'll be going over module 2. So between now and next Thursday, everybody please watch module 2. So you're familiar with the verbiage, the content, and then we can kind of go through it and ask questions.
Like that's a self-study course. That's what you're talking about, right? Self-study course and going.
That portion is self-study, yes.
That's that portion, like 6 modules. Because I have seen like first of two modules so far.
Yep. So each week going forward, like this was module 1. Next week will be module 2. The following week will be module 3. That will be doing a deep dive into each of those modules at that time.
But do you think by any part do you also cover anything about the book as well, or that is just for site study if you're interested in?
That's just for yourself. Anybody in the book, if you want to contact them, either reach out to them, or you can reach out to us and we'll get you in contact with them too. If you have any specific questions, you can ask in the chat or during the chapters. But that's just supplemental information.
Oh, okay. That's good, because I have read so far Michael chapter, I do have it. That's what I was thinking. If we have more questions, how to, because I don't think so there's any information to connect with them, right? The rest of the
Well,
people.
you got this guy live. We will definitely set you up with a call with Michael.
I'll send an email intro
Yeah.
for you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free to add me on
Perfect.
Facebook, and if you have any question directly to me, as
Yeah,
far
then you guys can set up a time. Yep.
yeah, I have.
Sure. Love to, man.
Don't
Thanks a lot.
I think you guys will have a good conversation. Again, that's the beauty of real estate. Everybody that Lauren and I have met, except for 2 people, they're all good people, but not everybody connects, right? So like Irfan, you and Michael might really, hit it off more than you and I or something like that. And like, I know Junko and I love each other, right? So everybody has different personalities that connect, which is great. And we'll be able to direct you to other people as we learn your personalities and interests more too. Lauren and I have tons of contacts.
Perfect. I'm open to learn from anyone, because that's what I have experienced. The more open-minded we're gonna get more. We're gonna receive more.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening, and email with any questions, and we'll speak to you next week.
Right. Thank you, guys.
And you're gonna send us the link.
Bye.
Are you gonna send us the link for your Tuesday thing?
Yes.
Yes. We'll send this video recording and the link for the webinar for next Tuesday. Yep.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.